This week, in this week's The News. The reason given for disenfranchising tens of thousands of voters seems to be completely made up. The mood of the boardroom is, well, kind of bored. Changes to sick pay are coming, which will mean more people get sick. And daylight savings is here again, prepared to do absolutely nothing. All that and more in this week's The News. Hello there, kia ora, I'm Paul and welcome to this week's The News. And it's not true that I know what really happened to the Crew murders. That secret died with my grandfather. The Registrar of Pecuniary and Other Special Interests has launched an investigation into Mega Landlord MP Carl Bates, seen here imitating a scarecrow, to find if he, as a beneficiary of the family trust which owns 25 properties, has breached rules around declaring financial interests. After the MP's portfolio was discovered, he posted a comment clearly meant to be from a fake supporter account trying to defend his actions, which has exacerbated the issue. Said the supporter of Bates, "I don't see what the big deal is. It's not like he makes laws around housing and benefits from those tax cuts that landlords got." The Electoral Commission has this week in Select Committee reported that proposed legislative changes that were justified by the Coalition to disenfranchise tens of thousands of voters would not speed up the process as promised. In 2023 general elections, the Coalition assumed that the final result would be delivered early instead of exactly when the Electoral Commission had said they would, which was when they were delivered. However, this was used to justify proposed law changes that would stop people from enrolling in the advance voting period. These changes were overwhelmingly rejected by submitters for the negative impact that they would have on democracy. Said Justice Minister Paul Goldsmith, seen here showing the proper technique for holding an imaginary microphone, "If you want to vote, you need to be enrolled, just not always at the time that's convenient to you, especially if you're a student or a busy parent or someone who may be voting for the first time, someone who's just moved house, or poor, because they don't tend to vote for us anyway." In related news, early polling numbers for this year's local body elections seem to be tracking better than the last local election in 2022. Voting is done by postal ballot, and the government has clearly shown that they'll happily make it harder for people to vote. So make sure you get your ballots in the mail as soon as possible. The latest Business Vibes survey released this week delivered a scathing rebuke for the Prime Minister and Finance Minister, with a group of CEOs rating them poorly for performance, placing them 15th and 13th respectively. Criticisms from the boardroom included that the Prime Minister was not engaging enough with them and he did not take constructive feedback well. In response, the Prime Minister, seen here trying to shoo away someone flying coach out of Auckland Airport, said, "We're going through a very difficult economic recovery with the damage that we very easily made to the economy, and they need to remember it's not about the friggin' targets." A revamp to sick leave and holiday entitlements in the Holidays Act will see part-time workers more heavily negatively impacted than full-time workers, as leave entitlements switch to an accrual system based on hours and days worked. Said the Minister of Workplace Relations, Brooke Van Velden, seen here on the staircase from Titanic, which makes her feel like home since both ships and the economy are famous for their sinking. These new changes are fairer on employers, and we all know that when people get sick, viruses and bugs also work part-time, so that won't in any way cause issues for part-time workers and their ability to earn an income. Thousands of people gathered around the country on Saturday, a day after the anniversary of women winning the right to vote, to protest pay equity changes which saw the cancellation of dozens of pending claims and raised the bar for future claims. The surprise change in May has seen several protests occur since the announcement, with Workplace Relations Minister Brooke Van Velden, seen here finding out Labour Party voters in her electorate are considering voting National to make sure she doesn't win her seat at the next election, saying, "All Kiwis have the right to protest, and I support their right to voice their concerns. It doesn't mean I have to listen to them though, and we have landlords and tobacco companies who need those tax breaks." Health Minister Simeon Brown, seen here hiding in the shadows, this week re-announced spending for health infrastructure upgrades that were already put in the most recent budget. The upgrades include increased clinical space in emergency departments, lab refurbishments, and additional car parking. Said Brown of the announcement, "Every project will make a real difference for patients and staff, whether that means shorter emergency waits, faster cancer treatment, more timely, effective elective surgery, or improved access to services. The only thing that we could do to improve things even more is increase the funding to make up for the $1 billion less that we're spending that our predecessors did, or properly paying for staff to help us retain them, or increase expenditure on primary healthcare to take pressure off hospitals, and follow through on our promises that we've ignored, like lowering the age for bowel cancer treatment." Foreign Affairs Minister Winston Peters, seen here watching the results of the US administration's censorship on television programming, has been making waves in New York after once again downplaying Aotearoa New Zealand's impact on climate change, again missing a dinner with foreign dignitaries for President Trump due to traffic blockages, and once again refusing to commit to recognising the Palestinian state. Said Peters of the United Nations event, "I'm rather brassed off about it. We came here to get nothing done and we've succeeded in that every step of the way. How dare they make me seem ineffective? Next they'll be blaming me for shutting down Trump's escalator, turning off his auto cue and raiding the liquor cabinet I totally didn't find in Antonio Guterres' office." 35 chambers of commerce from around the country this week have asked the government to reconsider its proposed changes to paywave surcharges, saying it's a move that will see banks win as consumers pay more for products to cover increased costs. The proposed law change doesn't stop banks from charging, but does stop retailers from adding surcharges on specific transaction types. Said Consumer Affairs Minister Scott Simpson, "That pesky note or sticker on the payment machine will be a thing of the past because that's clearly really important to Kiwis. And if we were to reverse course and listen to those businesses actually impacted by this, then we'd have nothing to gloat about pretending it's a win on social media." And finally, daylight saving time begins this week with clocks springing forward an hour. Health experts have warned that disrupting our circadian rhythms like this can have detrimental health impacts, including cognitive dissonance issues as our body clock don't match what we become mentally accustomed to. One way experts suggest overcoming this is to plan for earlier bedtimes over the preceding few days to allow the body to adjust. Going on to say, "Look, I know the level of doom we're all getting these days while we do our late night doom scrolling is at top quality levels right now, but we haven't seen in a really long time. But in this case, taking a break from it is good for our brains and our minds." Right, and that's it for this week's The News. Thanks very much for watching and supporting the content throughout the week. Have a great time, live long, prosper. We'll catch you all next time. Hey, thanks for checking out today's video. Make sure you like, share, subscribe so you get more updates as we go along. We deal with these guys for the rest of the year.